Welcome to Pip's Talk. I am Ariba Wasim, and today we are going to unfold the regional tensions in the Gulf area. We have seen the role that Iran has played, we have seen what other countries are doing, and we've also seen the role of the US. So, our question today was going to be: has diplomacy failed in the region? So, we're going to discuss this with Sir Amir Rana and ask him what is the role of diplomacy in the region?
Uh, Thank you, Ariva. You mentioned that about the diplomacy, whether it's been failed or it's not performing well. I'm not sure that this diplomacy isn't working, but I think diplomacy works better when the all the parties in a conflict allow a space for diplomacy. So far, so both sides they have their own constraints, and they are allowing only the minimum space for diplomacy. And both the parties, especially the Iran, since last few days, is getting very aggressive in its approach, and seems that they still got a chance to increase their bargain position through intensifying the conflict. Of course, the US is willing to go for a solution, but they don't want to go on the Iranian terms. So this is also pressure, and we are all familiar with the role of Israel, which is of course is acting like a spoiler in this region. And then there's a few other actors, the Arab states, which are confused, basically the target and victim of the both sides. They are facing the strikes from Iran, and on the other side, their protector, the US, isn't able to protect them well. So this is also creating a lot of tensions there. And when you are part of a conflict, especially from Saudi Arabia to UAE and all these actors, so you don't think about diplomacy. That you don't think about, okay, let's go and do some kind of the reconciliatory work or to do mediation, because you are party, you are in a conflict. Then the countries like Pakistan, which are uh, the geographically is away from that conflict zone and have little influence in this region, they are more capable to do and initiate the diplomacy. So Pakistan is trying as hard. So the MOU been signed here in Islamabad. It provided some basics for the negotiation there. Uh, these talks still going on. Backdoor sometime is come on the track one as well. Diplomacy is working, but not as with the pace as we were anticipating. And this is, I think, this is because of the two major actor in this conflict. They don't want to be compromised or to give more leverages in talks uh, to the opposite opponent party. So this is basically the issue right now is going on.
So I read an article in Dawn written by Maliha Loti,
Yeah.
and she said that Iran's nationalism is playing a big role in elongating the conflict. So, what do
Right.
you have to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with her argument, and this is quite visible since last few months that the new nationalism uh, is emerging in Iran, and this is a mix of the religious tendencies and all these the nationalistic the pride that they are collecting and developing a new mainstream character in Iran. So it might you have seen at the occasion of these Imam Khamenei funerals in Iran, that the first time the Iranian regime, rather not regime, the IRG is controlling everything. So they had invited the people, the groups, the civil society, political actors all across the world, even from the US, especially those who are in line with the left leaning ideologies. So they are developing their new relationship with the left as well. The same left to whom the Imam Khomeini and Khamenei had crushed brutally in the past. And now they are developing their new relationship. This was one of the indication that it may be the regime is going to be uh, more nationalistic, less religious, and it may allow the few civil and civic liberties in the country as well. So I think its character is changing, but we have to be seen that whether this new nationalism will create the coherence within the Iranian society or not. Uh, of course, there is a big segment is still very conservative, and if someone is trying to modernize, they will face some reaction as well. And we also know that there is a few other ethnicities lives within Iran, especially the Kurds, the Baloch, and Arabs, and with whom how this regime will deal in the future. So if they be accommodative, of course, then it will be a new Iran will emerge. It's a new nationalism is emerging, but we can't say that what kind of the shape it will take in near future.
That's good to know. But now my question is, how is this venture, how is US, America's venture in Iran different from its venture in Afghanistan? Is there any comparison between the two?
There is no comparison at all. The venture in Afghanistan was the reactionary of the 9/11 attack, and it was abrupt, and they were not prepared. And then when they have launched this operation in Afghanistan, later they realized that they had made a huge mistake because Afghanistan wasn't the only war front, but it became a nation building project for the US uh, and the NATO countries as well. The country was in a very bad shape because of the decades long conflicts, civil wars within Afghanistan, and there was a huge governance gap when Taliban were dislodged. The US had no luxury to leave this region immediately. So they had started nation building. They did the same in Iraq, and they think it may be this is nation building is the part of their war strategy. In both cases, they've been failed. For Iran, Israel had a very specific design for the regime change. But for US, the objective was at least to force Iran to abandon or to compromise on its nuclear program. So this was the American objective. So they had some compatibility with the US and Israel plans, but it wasn't primarily like Afghanistan or Iraq. It was completely different, at least in the US perspective. They had very different motives for striking on Iran.
So, how is this war affecting the Gulf region? We've seen that UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, they have been attacked by Iran.
Yeah.
So, how do we see the foreign relations developing over the coming years?
Yeah, so it's a very complicated scenario is evolving there. Arabs are very angry, but they are not in position to be part of this conflict or to fight against Iran. Though many of them they desired to fight against Iran. So this is, but they don't have the sufficient. Um, I'm not saying the physical resources, but the conducive environment. They can sustain this conflict for longer term. And the second that they know that the cost of the conflict will badly impact on their economy and the stability they had created during last 3 4 decades. So this is both are on the stake. So they are trying their utmost despite their anger against Iran and in some cases against Israel and US as well, they're trying to sustain this, to bring back the status quo they had before February 28. So this is also provided little space to Pakistan, and everybody want to engage Pakistan. They see that the Pakistan is the only actor which has very good relation with Tehran, and uh, President Trump's also trust on the Pakistani leadership. So what you have seen after the Qatar, now the Bahrain is also in another agreement with Pakistan. So this is, I think, the Pakistan position is somehow diplomatically better in this region, and everybody thinking Pakistan can provide the channel for the stability in this region.
Okay, on this note, we're going to hope that diplomacy works in the Gulf region and diplomacy works for Pakistan as well. So, we're going to wrap up our podcast on this note. We'll be back with more work in coming weeks. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Ariba.